Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics. And last week, Nigel Farage changed the very small leadership structure in his private business, which masquerades as a political party. Leanderthal was terribly pleased at being made milk monitor. Sorry, I mean chief whip. But Ben Habib, previously one of the deputy leaders of the party, was less than pleased to be replaced by Richard Tice. But as Tice is the second largest stakeholder in the private business, which is Reform UK plc, and Habib didn't actually win his election for a party which now has voter-backed presence in Parliament, why is he complaining? And why is he complaining in such a way as to seemingly cause damage to the perception of the party? Ever since Farage made the changes, Habib has been ranting on every media outlet that would give him a hearing, and quite a few have. He's talked about how Reform UK is not a one-man project, it is a people-led movement. This despite the very obvious facts pointing to the contrary. Even a proper political party has a leadership structure, and although it tends to have various common principles, different leaders take it in different directions, and you absolutely expect changes in the personnel occupying leadership positions. And although some smaller parties have leaders or have had leaders who are not members of Parliament, that will tend to be because they're members of a different Parliament or Assembly instead. Had Reform UK kept Habib on as deputy leader, a man who occupies no elected office anywhere in the country, it would stand out, because they have so few leadership positions, it would stand out as a party whose leaders are basically unelected, especially after even the Green Party leaders are both now MPs. So from a purely objective point of view, it made absolute sense for Reform UK trying to claim to be this people-powered party that Habib says it should be, to make sure that the very small leadership structure of the very small and not at all fake political party should be comprised of people whom you can claim received a mandate from the people to represent them. Because despite the media hype, let us consider just how small Reform UK is. There are about 20,000 elected positions in the UK when you consider members of the various parliaments, assemblies, elected mayors, local councils. Reform UK have 21 of these roughly 20,000 positions. 21. For reference, the Green Party of just England and Wales alone have 819. Yet you'd forget they even exist if you relied on the mainstream media for your political news. Reform UK is tiny. It doesn't have much of a pool from which to draw leaders, especially as it doesn't even have members. And yet Habib, who like most of the serious players in Reform UK, is basically a bored multimillionaire who decided to get involved in politics, whether for the sake of fame or infamy or whatever other reason, he's complaining that he is no longer part of the leadership structure of a party which now does have some elected representation when he is not part of that representation. Yesterday, he was stepping up his attacks on his party in the Sunday Times. He has yet again pointed to the fact that Reform UK is a limited company, not a proper political party. Yet I don't recall him ever making anything of this while he was deputy leader. And he's shouting about it every day from the second he stopped being deputy leader. In his latest rant, he also attacked Farage as not always making the best decisions. He attacked the decision to stand down candidates in the 2019 election in the Brexit party version of this limited company. He claims that Richard Tice assured him that there would be consensual decision making within the party in future, and is now moaning about the fact that Nigel Farage has just made these executive decisions. But remember, it's the same executive decision that leaders of other political parties would make as well. The leader of the Conservative Party, for example, decides who the deputy leader is. But as he does not publish the detail of the letter he claims to have received from Tice, which is fair enough, by the way, we don't need to see it, we do not actually know what form this consensual decision-making was supposed to take. He didn't go into details. In the article, he appears to suggest he has no reason to suppose that the promised changes are not going to be made. He's not actually claiming, they've gone back on their word. He actually expresses hope that the agreement will be honoured, making his rant even more inexplicable, because he's not even complaining that what he was told last year, when it had a different leader, by the way, when he joined the party as deputy leader, is being reneged on. At least not yet. The obvious conclusion would just be, ego, isn't it? Irrelevance, fears irrelevance. But what changed? Habib was an MEP for the Brexit Party, but did not involve himself with Reform UK when it rebranded. He was only brought into the fold last year, so that's several years hiatus there. He made a song and dance at the time of being reluctant. He'd spent the intervening time trying to cause trouble in Northern Ireland over the inevitable consequences of the Brexit deal that he happily attacks and yet voted for. Remember, he was a member of the European Parliament who voted in favour of it. He goes on about how Johnson's deal was a bad one and that Farage shouldn't have stood candidates down in 2019 to enable it. But he enabled it by voting for it. I mean, he got his excuses in at the time, of course, like they all did, but the record shows he supported it. So if he was happy to just stoke up trouble in Northern Ireland for several years and had to be persuaded to reluctantly join the Reform UK project as deputy leader last year, why the tears and tantrums about having that position rescinded now? Perhaps Habib fears that something's changed or changing in the Brexit landscape. There are several things which are different and are likely to become different over the course of the next few years. First, with Reform UK established in Parliament, the individual MPs are going to be the focus for all of the Brexit could have been better done arguments. Second, as deputy leader, Habib had some role within that group for like media purposes. Now he has no position. I mean, in a proper political party, if you were demoted, well, you're still in the party. If you lose your position, you're still in the party. You still have some role somewhere. But because Reform UK don't actually have members or indeed many positions, Habib is nothing. Like, he can't even say he's in Reform UK. He can remain a supporter or not, but he's no longer formally connected to the party in any meaningful way. I don't think he's even given them the 25 quid to get his subscriber certificate. You know, he's back to being a lone Brexit activist outside of the main encampment. Third, if Labour succeed in getting the agreements they want from the EU, even the visible fracture lines of Brexit in Northern Ireland would dissolve. That is the main focus, at least partially. You know, there's a reason why Habib had been so active in Northern Ireland, and it's because the Brexit tensions were greatest there. But everyone wants those tensions to ease, like even the DUP. Maybe not so much the TUV, but the DUP, who heavily supported Brexit, although not the Brexit that everyone else said that they'd get and they didn't believe until it happened. The DUP are essentially hoping that Labour do indeed just ease a lot of the visible signs of Brexit divergence from Britain, because that's their main focus. And if that happens, Northern Ireland will, I suppose, go back to their usual sectarian nonsense, and Habib has got no skin in that game. And yet, he's still very wealthy. He's free to develop his own lines of communication into politics. If he wants to spend his time doing so, there's nothing stopping him. He can open up a Substack, or he can set up a YouTube channel. Nothing to stop him having his say, and in today's media environment, he doesn't need anyone's patronage to do so. So perhaps what we're seeing from Habib here is ego, combined with a fear for how the future of Brexit is looking, tinged with laziness maybe. When he joined them last year, he said he was reluctant. He actually appeared to be reluctant. He gave the impression anyway of being reluctant. Maybe because he didn't believe the party would actually win seats in the election. Indeed, there was no reason to suppose they would have at the time. Now that they have, and we've got both a public and a government who have no interest in the already failed hard Brexit, perhaps he sees his relevance being threatened. And the laziness in the fact that he's got no desire to put any work into remaining relevant by his own efforts. He may have joined reluctantly, but perhaps he thought that electoral success would have allowed him low effort access to fame. Perhaps he thought he could represent the party in the media while the others waved their order papers about in Parliament. But what is he now? He's not authorised to speak on behalf of the party because he has no role. But he's still seen as part of Reform UK, even though he's not. What does he do? For now, he rants because people are giving him a platform to do so. What will he do if that platform no longer gets clicks? Or will it keep getting clicks exclusively for this? Is ranting against the Tory Brexit and Labour's efforts to reverse Brexit not going to help him? Does he become the next link in the chain of Brexit betrayal? The Tories betrayed the unholy Brexit with their crap deal, cry Reform UK. Reform UK are betraying their people-powered movement by not being democratic, cries Habib. Is that what this is going to be now? Guess we'll see. Should be a fun sideshow, if nothing else. But there we are. Those are my thoughts. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe for further content and click the like button. You can also sign up for memberships if you'd like to support the channel further. Thanks for watching. And until next time, I'll see you later.